Okay, this is my attempt to introduce dilution to you. Please make a note of any questions you have as we go through so that we can talk about your questions. I'm going to start with the older dilution definition, which is the gradual whittling away of a trademark's selling power and value through its use by others on dissimilar products. So whittling away or whittling away. In dilution law, as opposed to prescriptiveness English, there is such a thing as becoming less unique. Uniqueness is a continuum. So, for example, delta is a mark that has been diluted by the fact that there are so many other delta marks. So the core idea here is dilution by blurring. People also identify dilution by tarnishment, which has historically been caused by associating a mark with goods or services that are disreputable, often sexual goods or services, or goods of poor quality. I'm not a supporter of dilution. Rational people do believe it. I will attempt to dilute a trade dress for you. And one thing to think about is the cumulative effects of these various reuses, most of which are commercial attempts to make money, and see if this justifies a dilution cause of action in your mind. So we start with the Apple iPod trade dress, at one point very famous for the distinctive style of advertising, and very famous and very imitated. Lots of ways for lots of products, lots of different messages to be sent. A company that would take your photo and turn it into an iPod style ad. A podcast. Church. A sexualized version of this. A more sexualized version of this. More sex. And finally, defecation. We also have political uses of this, including repurposing famous pictures redone in the iPod advertising style. So with that background, let me give you 5 questions that will structure our discussions. First, is a unique trademark better than one that overlaps with other marks? Is Microsoft a better trademark than Apple? The related issue is, are there any circumstances in which the mark American Airlines should or even could be protected against dilution? It's distinctive. In fact, it's probably famous, but does that mean that there's anything you could do to dilute it? The materials also discuss the finding that spam is famous for meat products, but not distinctive for junk email. Consider this question. In what fields of business, if any, could you protect American Airlines mark against dilution? Second, what exactly do we mean when we talk about protecting distinctiveness? By definition, something can only be a mark if it's distinctive. So should all marks be protected to some degree against dilution? One version is Barton Beeb's differential distinctiveness. And if you have questions about that, we can address them in class. Differential distinctiveness describes the extent to which a trademark's signifier is distinctive from other signifiers in the trademark system. How unlike is it to other trademarks? That's a bit like inherent distinctiveness, but secondary meaning also matters to differential distinctiveness. Third, given these questions, what sort of evidence would you ask a plaintiff to show to prove a likelihood of dilution? Fourth, confusion isn't required for dilution. So what is the relationship between confusion and dilution? One view is that they're mutually exclusive. If you're confused, you think wrongly that there's only one source for 2 different things. If you're diluted, whatever that turns out to mean, you think correctly that there are 2 different sources using similar marks. Another possibility, maybe some people will react with confusion and others with dilution when marks are sufficiently similar, in which case there could be both likely confusion and likely dilution. Fifth, and relatedly, should dilution protection cover situations in which the parties' goods are the same? If the goods are the same and the plaintiff still can't prove confusion, why shouldn't we let the competitor use its chosen mark? the legislative history and the policy discussion is always about non-competing goods. DuPont shoes, Buick aspirin, Kodak pianos. But in practice, a lot of dilution claims are brought against competitors. And after the Trademark Dilution Revision Act, courts haven't paid much attention to this and have happily applied dilution law to competitors, but maybe that is a bad idea. So that's our introduction, and we'll see you in class.